6 mistakes people make when organizing. Number 1, too specific of the category.
Too specific of a file? Receipts. Rather than 20 different folders for receipts, one general receipt category. It depends on how much you have and how often you go into it. I do not have a lot of receipts. I do not go into it a lot. If I need to find a receipt a handful of times per year, it's not a big deal to go through a stack a few times a year, all in one place. And a bonus tip, I always write little notes at the top so I can just quick access and look for what it was that I bought.
Number 2, it requires too much of a habit change.
Too big of a habit change. You've just purged your dresser and you've decided, I'm gonna now take the time to neatly fold all of my workout t-shirts and put them index style into my drawer. When really, that's a little bit of a jump to go to when you could roll them instead.
3, you've organized an area, but the stuff is hard to get to, making it inaccessible, and it takes too long to get to it.
One example would be something too low that you have to dig for, or something too high that you have to get a step stool out every time, especially if it's an everyday and commonly used item.
You're at your desk, you have a paper to file, and your filing cabinet's in the other room, versus a swing of the chair into the file cabinet. 4, there's too many steps involved. I prefer 1 to 2 steps. 1 to open a drawer or a cabinet, and 2, you're grabbing out the item. If it's a rarely used item, 3 and 4 steps is not a big deal.
Here's a great example of what I was doing with my client checks and how many times I was touching them. Coming through the door after work, unpack my bag. I'm exhausted. I just want to dump everything on my transition shelf. Then later, when I go up to my office at some point that day or the next, I bring everything up to my office and I just put it in my inbox. Then it's in my inbox. Then when I come back and I'm sitting in my office another day, I will grab the check, then put it in my tax folder. How many times am I touching that check? It's too much. Now I come through the door, I go to my binder, I open it, and it's right there. All done. Easy peasy.
5, lighting. It's too dark. You can't see detail. Lighting levels up your spaces.
Sometimes our storage spaces have little to no lighting and you're in there crawling around with a flashlight. Consider installing battery-operated tap lights, motion-detecting night lights, adaptive foot switches, etc.
6, it requires too much thinking or decision-making in order to put an item back. If it's too complicated and you're standing here thinking, okay, strategy, it's gotta be simple, it's gotta be a no-brainer, a stranger could do it.
You've just gone from no paper organization to an elaborate, new, detailed organization system for active papers, bills to pay, projects, phone calls, but it takes a lot of strategic, critical thinking in order to remember how you set it up and what you're doing with it. We're trying to create 1 or 2 areas of active paper. 1 big area to go through on a daily basis, just peek through it, and this is today and this is tomorrow. This stuff can wait.